have Marie. So we have Marie Lahai, we have Mafe James, and then we have Henrietta Agite. So, and these are their businesses here below their names. We'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves in a bit. So before we get started, I thought maybe I should introduce myself for those of you who don't know. Again, my name is Joannes or Joe Hotagua. I am Sierra Leonean American living here in Accra, Ghana. I have a 15-year career in advertising, helping Fortune 500 brands find their audiences online. Most of my career was in the US, but over the last year and a half, I've been here in Ghana working with startups here and also working as the head of advertising at Jumia until recently. So that is my experience. And I am, of course, a co-founder of Launchpad Africa. So before we jump into the presentation itself, just a bit of housekeeping. One, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to type your questions in the chat section. We will be taking your questions and holding them to the end during the Q&A. That'll give the opportunity for the three panelists to be able to answer your questions. The way it'll work as the agenda for today is we'll do a presentation first, just kind of a high level overview of why it's important to market online and to use digital platforms. We will then have a Q&A where we ask some pre-screened questions to the panelists beforehand, and then we'll open it up to the attendees to ask your questions. So we'll take some of those questions that you've written in the chat. So let's get into the content for today. Okay, so again, we just did the welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about Launchpad Africa since we are the ones that are hosting this call. Then we'll talk about the power of using digital, and that's the presentation that I mentioned previously. And then we will meet the panelists. We'll give them a chance to talk a little bit about themselves and their stories, ask them some questions, and then we will open it up to you all. So a little bit about Launchpad Africa. So who we are. So we are a DC-based nonprofit. We are a business incubator and accelerator program. Our goal is to provide our participants with opportunities such as networking, mentorship, and resource allocation to help skyrocket the success of proven business ideas. So we're working with startups on the continent to help them accelerate and become financially or investment readiness. And then, of course, our mission and our vision is as follows. Our mission is, Launchpad Africa's mission is to support African entrepreneurs in launching and sustaining their businesses by equipping them and empowering them with the tools and resources necessary to be profitable. Those tools and resources that are available to their counterparts in the States or in the West, we want to make sure that those are available to startups here on the continent. And our vision is a world where the African entrepreneur takes the lead on decisions being made regarding Africa's growth and advancement. So with that, let's jump right into why you should be building your brand online. Now, this comes straight from Google and IFC. Some of the stats here they've tracked around the world. So by 2025, the internet economy has the potential to contribute 180 billion to Africa's economy, growing to 712 billion by 2050. So over the next 5 years, COVID-19 is expected to delay economic growth, both in Africa as well as the rest of the world. However, the resilience of the internet economy, coupled with private consumption, stronger development of talent, private and public sector investments, and investments in digital infrastructure and government policies will continue to drive growth in Africa. So there are a variety of sectors leading the way in terms of Africa's consumption growth. One is fintech or financial technology. So startups building solutions to support the population as currently financially excluded. Of course, e-commerce, as I mentioned, I just was running advertising for Jumia in Ghana, which is an e-commerce store. I can tell you firsthand, e-commerce is growing everywhere on the continent. And then on the right, you have a couple of other sectors where we see tremendous growth. So health technology, media and entertainment, e-mobility, and then B2B logistics. So the key takeaway here is that companies in the internet economy have generally outperformed other sectors of the economy, regardless of what's happening with the global pandemic. So next is Africa's GDP, right? So there's expected to be an increase in digital connectivity, which will actually directly boost Africa's economic value. And here's why. 40% is the number of people with internet access, and that has grown to 522.8 million people, which is 40% of the population in Africa. And 11% over the next decade, the number of internet users in Africa will grow by 11%. That's comprising of 16% of the total global amount. And then lastly, a 10% increase in mobile internet penetration increases the GDP per capita by 2.5 cents in Africa, 2.5% in Africa compared to 2% globally. So again, this growth has a direct impact on GDP, which means that the expectation that that growth of your potential consumers is where you will need to find them is online. And then the last slide in this section just speaks to the overall holistic view of the $180 billion internet economy future. So 2.5 billion people expected to be the population of the continent of Africa by 2050, but we are rapidly getting to that rate. Digital connectivity, as I mentioned, 40%. That was in 2019. The expectation is that it's going to increase over time. And then urbanization is another factor, right? 45% of population will be in major cities in 2025. There are tons of infrastructure investments in the private and public sector, and there's a lot of pro-innovator regulation. So what that means is it will be easier to connect to the internet as time goes on. And with the ability to connect, obviously that increases usage. With the increase in usage, that means that there's more often the opportunity for your potential customers to be found online. So now let's talk about where you should be online and how you should consider what you should be doing. So, there are over 4 billion people, if you count all of the major social networks combined or social media platforms combined, in terms of usage online across the globe, right? And so that's why we're going to focus on social media as kind of this part of the presentation, but we can speak more broadly if you have questions about that when we get to the Q&A. So I have a business mentor who now runs advertising at Snapchat. And one thing that he always said when we all worked together at Hulu was that brand loyalty is about being at the right place at the right time. And that just means you need to be wherever your consumer needs their solution, and they're almost always online. So although you need to be at the right place at the right time, nobody knows when that is or where that is, right? So what that means is that you should be everywhere all the time. Obviously, you can't be everywhere all the time, so you need to be everywhere your potential consumers are all the time. So we'll jump into what that means. So obviously there's a challenge, right? To not knowing where to be, right? There are too many options and tactics out there. It can get overwhelming at times. So globally, these are the major platforms that are available in order to get in front of your consumer, right? On the continent of Africa, on the top left-hand corner, you see Social General. You see Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, WhatsApp. These are all the major platforms around the world, but also specifically on the continent of Africa. They're used, right? Twitter just opened up their Africa headquarters in Ghana, in Accra. Facebook has offices in Nigeria and in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And so there is a tremendous growth of consumption of social platforms on the continent of Africa. If you also go to the right of this question mark where it says videos, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram TV. TikTok, as you guys may have seen, some of the explosion in Afrobeats has really been due to different challenges on the TikTok platform, right? There's so much consumption on the continent. There was the Don't Rush challenge, right? And so many other challenges, if you can remember back to 2020. And so those have really helped with the proliferation of that platform and the usage of the platform on the continent, and it continues to grow. And so with all these tactics and all these options, right, how do you determine your strategy for where you should be. So there are a few things we should look at. Number one is resources and bandwidth. Your organization, do you have a team responsible for social, for marketing? If you do, then of course, then you can decide more than one platform or just one platform if you're the single person, and if you have another business, or if you don't have the bandwidth, you would want to be very selective about which platforms you use. Also, your company type should help you determine what platform you use, business to business or business to consumer. Right now, I will say business to business. There's a bit of confusion here. A lot of people who have business to business businesses tend to think that they don't need to be on social networks. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth, because even though you are a business that only directly works with another business, those owners of that business or the employees of that business are on social media. So you have prospective customers that are on those social media platforms that you can be in front of. And then of course, if you're a direct to consumer, then you definitely want to be on social media. And then in terms of you also need to make selections based on your business sector and where the people in your business sector spend their time. So if you're a vlogger, if you're travel, if you're in banking, fashion, if you're NGOs or agriculture, that might help determine your strategy for where you are and what you post. And then lastly, what is your customer persona? If you're starting a business now, who do you want your target market to be? Who do you want your target customer to be? And if you already have customers, do you know who your customers are? And if you do, then you should be working to pull together their persona. So how do you determine your customer persona and who you will be targeting? So these are the questions you should be asking yourself on the left, right? What's their age? What's their gender? What's their income, their marital status, their shopping behaviors, their hobbies, their education level, their occupation? You should know these things about your customers. So if you have customers already, you can always survey them and ask them these questions. If you don't yet, this is how you want to build your customer profile. As I mentioned, I have a brand. I've had many brands throughout the years, but the brand that I'm currently working on today is Authentic African. For me, the idea of Authentic African was to be able to share with the version of me 5 years ago who never thought I would ever move to West Africa. Someone who has a connection maybe to West Africa, who finds it interesting, but wasn't really ready to drop everything and move. And so it was easy for me to come up with that customer persona because I already have the mindset of that person 5 years ago. So here's what that customer persona looks like on the right. So obviously it's a male, age is 25 to 40. I'm about to age out of this persona soon. Income, 70K plus, frequent traveler, tech savvy, African enthusiast, mid-level manager, high school or university graduate. You want to be able to, with your customer persona, you want to be able to picture that person in your mind as if you know that person as an individual, because as you're building your strategy, you need to be able to talk to that person like you know that person. Okay, so how do you choose which platform you use, right? So all the platforms have their pros, their cons, and they have massive scale, right? So I'm gonna tell you how I chose which platforms I decided to use for the Authentic African brand. Number one, I do have 2 part-time people working for me that I employ today. I have a virtual assistant, and then I have a social media manager. My virtual assistant handles e-commerce, and my social media manager handles my social media platforms, right? So with that, I knew that I could be on more than one platform because I had to post multiple times per day, and there was just no way that I could do it myself. So when I first started, I started with one platform until I was able to onboard other members of the team to kind of handle some of the other things that I could not do myself. So when I thought about which platforms I wanted to be on, of course, Facebook is huge, right? 51% of adults are active users. So for me, I had to be on Facebook. Now, my age group is a little bit younger than 40, but 40, it goes up to 40. So for me, I knew that I needed to be on that platform, but I wasn't going to spend all of my time on that platform. However, Instagram for me made the most sense because I knew the platform best, and I knew that that is where a ton of my users would potentially be. 71% of users under the age of 35 are 71% of their users are under the age of 35, right? And they also have the number is now 2 billion active users. So at a number of that scale, of that size and scale, you have to be on a platform where those people are. Now, I chose not to be on Snapchat because most of those people are 18 to 24, and I'm looking for mid-level managers making a certain amount and a certain status. And it's because I am targeting them with an e-commerce store, or at least I was at one point. And so they needed to have disposable income. So it didn't make sense to be targeting this younger demographic. And with Twitter, I chose to be on Twitter with my own personal profile on Twitter, just because there are so many folks on Twitter, over almost 400 million, over 300 million people on Twitter. And because the ages between 35 and 65. And then as you notice, 2/3 of them are male. So because my target market is male, that is why I also chose Twitter, to be on Twitter as well. Now, here are some other platforms, right? Pinterest has 320 million people, actually more people than Twitter. However, as you can see, it's heavily concentrated amongst millennials, which is a group that I am targeting, but 80% of their users are women, right? So for me, if most of who I'm targeting are male, it didn't necessarily make sense for me to be on that platform. Next down is TikTok. Quite a lot of scale, actually, but 50% of their users are under the age of 25, and it's heavily concentrated on the ages of 16 to 24. So for me, of course, that age group didn't make sense for my demographic and who I was targeting. Now, YouTube. I launched my YouTube channel in February of 2021 because of its size and scope, and because it allowed me to share my story with those people who are thinking about moving. And because I am that person, it just made sense for me to be able to tell my story to those folks. And then lastly, of course, LinkedIn. Everyone should be on LinkedIn regardless of your business because it's such a huge platform, but especially for those of you who are doing business to business, you want to be on LinkedIn. Okay, so I heard this quote a lot in my early days of business, and I always want to mention it here. If you fail to plan, then you should plan to fail. So many people start on social, and let me repeat that actually. If you fail to plan, then you should plan to fail. Because if you don't put together a plan or a content calendar, there is really no way to ensure growth, right? And so many people start on these platforms without any real plan to grow those platforms. And so let me kind of walk you through how I decided to get on Instagram. So I launched on Instagram. The page is called Authentic African, and I'm targeting Africans in the diaspora. So for me, it made sense to launch Black History Month, right? February 1st, 2019. So I launched during Black History Month, and I even did like a countdown to the launch when I launched this page back on February 1st, 2019. And so with that, we have just over 38,500 followers in 3 years. And how I plan is either weekly or monthly. If there's something that happens like over the weekend that is just newsworthy, for instance, people are probably familiar with what happened at the Academy Awards. That was something that people were going to talk about. So I made sure that I updated my calendar for that week to include that in my discussion. As far as doing a grid on Instagram, you can do that if you want. You don't have to. I just chose to do that. And so what you see here is me selecting days and time. So I had Googled what times are people most of the time on Instagram in the United States, since that's where my target market was, right? So it's 6 a.m., 9 a.m., and 12 p.m. So I started by posting, initially I actually started by posting 5 times a day. I've now gone down to 3 times a day just because that's more manageable for the resources that I have. And then I know what I'm going to be posting. Some of them are reposts. Some of them are posts that I've actually created, right? And have built myself. So the decision to go on Instagram was purely based on the audience. Then the decision to post as often as I did was based on the platform. And then when I post was based on when people are on that platform. So next, I launched my YouTube channel on February 1st, 2021. So again, Black History Month. So I did the same thing. I launched on the 1st of February, 2021. And so, and that number should actually be updated. It's actually 3.5K subscribers, not 4.5K subscribers. That's aspirational. So the number is 3.5K subscribers in a year. And with this content calendar, what was really important was to understand and talk to other people who had YouTube accounts. And the first thing I was told was make sure you have plenty of videos ready so that when you launch, you already can have a calendar ready. So when I launched on February 1st, which you can't see, you only see from the 2nd and beyond, because February 1st, the only thing I launched on February 1st was my welcome to my YouTube channel. But before I did that, I knew all the way until the end of April what I was going to be posting. That was really, really important for the success of the platform. Just for context, you need to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours on YouTube in order to monetize your channel, to become a part of the YouTube Partner Program. Because of this plan, I was able to do that in 4 months, right? Which is really hard to do. Sometimes it takes people 4 years, sometimes it takes 3 years, right? And that's because most people do not launch with a plan. So I say all that to say, every platform you're on, you should always have a plan and you should be executing that plan religiously. Okay, that concludes the brief presentation about how to build your brand online, why you should be online, and where you should be. It's very high level, but we wanted to make sure we gave that insight and that information to all of you, because I know many of you are just starting businesses or have had businesses for a while and are not really clear on how to launch online. And so I hope that that was helpful. What I'd like to do now is jump into meeting the panel. So if we can have the panelists come on and share their videos, I'd like to go around the room and ask them to introduce themselves and their business and what it is that you do. So I'll start with Mafe, since I see you there. Mafe, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. I'm super excited. My name is Mafe James. As you can see, I am a first generation Sierra Leonean American, born and raised in Philadelphia. I like to use the term hair enthusiast to talk about my background because literally from the age like 11, 12 years old, I have been hairstyling. I started experimenting on myself. That moved on to me doing like my cousin's hairs, my friend's hair. When I was in college, I used to do pretty much a whole bunch of people's hair on campus. That like helped me pay my rent and stuff like that, to the point where fast forward to today, Femme Afrique is born. A little bit about Femme Afrique. It's an e-commerce store that we pretty much produce all protective hair care products. These are all handmade. The company is 100% women owned and operated, and it's based in Sierra Leone. And we ship through the United States, but it's based in Sierra Leone, hence the name Femme Afrique. So that's a little bit about me and my brand.
Thanks, Mafe. Marie, can you give a little bit about yourself and your brand?
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Marie Lahai, formerly Marie Mansoray, but you know, I got married. And so now I'm Lahai. I started, honestly, social media was never really my thing initially, you know, like when things were popping up, Facebook, Instagram. I've always been late. I've always been a late user. So I actually started I had Instagram just as like a general thing to have because everyone else kind of had it, but I didn't really use it until about 2018. 18, because I got pregnant with my daughter and I knew that I would be moving away from the DMV area. I'd be moving to Houston. So I really wanted to take advantage of these social media platforms and have my family in Maryland and Virginia be able to still grow up with my daughter, see her, do different things, activities, the different milestones of life in a different way other than talking on the phone. So I created this YouTube channel tracking my pregnancy. And then I posted a picture of her on Instagram one day. I've also always been a historian. I like to take pictures, and I'll be the one in the friend group, like recording everything, taking photos, and then like reminding my friends of things that happened in the past that maybe they thought we forgot. But I'd be like, girl, here's a picture. Remember this? So it was kind of like just fitting. It kind of just all went together. So there's this one time I posted a picture of my daughter online with some colorful balls, like toys, and the brand of the balls sent me a message asking like if they could send me some more. And I was like, this is a thing that people do. I just posted a picture with her, with this product. But then it was like up from there. Once I found out you could get paid for things like that, I was like, oh, okay. And then I had already started the YouTube channel. So it kind of just flowed. It just all went together. Then when I want to do something, I kind of get really obsessed with it. So I started researching, reading, talking to people who were in the industry already. And then now I'm kind of like doing it with the whole family. So that's my background.
Nice. Thank you for that. And Henrietta, do you want to do a quick intro to yourself and your business? I think you're on mute if you're talking.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. So my name is Henrietta Jete. I am an entrepreneur. I am also a tour curator and a travel blogger. And my background is in communications and journalism, but at the moment, I run two businesses. So one is Brand E, where I make paper bags and boxes for some of the brands here and outside of Ghana. And then also as a tour curator, I run a travel business called Travelo. And I take people on tours here in Ghana and sometimes out of here. And what I'm trying to do also is to promote a lot of travel within Ghana and generally Africa, so that people can get to know like what we have here. A lot of the times you'd realize that a lot of us young people, like we just want to go to Dubai, go to all of these fancy places, but we don't know what the beaches here looks like. So I'm trying to promote a lot of the travel within Africa. And then finally, I'm a travel vlogger as well. So I move from hotel to hotel, collaborating with some of the resorts here to promote their hotels and so on and so forth. So that's briefly about me.
Excellent. Thank you all. So I'm actually going to stop presenting the presentation so that you guys can see our wonderful panelists. So I'm going to start asking some questions that we've pre-curated, as I mentioned. And we see a lot of questions coming in from the attendees, and we will make sure to get to those questions. Just keep asking your questions in the chat. We'll make sure to get to them. We haven't forgotten about you, but we will, we're going to start with some of the questions here. But just to answer one of them, I did see that someone asked if we are going to share the presentation. We will. The plan is to try to share it through the Eventbrite, so expect to receive it. But yeah, so you'll be able to do a deeper dive into some of the content that was shared. Okay, so I'm going to go around the horn a little bit and just ask you all some of these individual questions. I think that Marie might have gone into this, actually, sorry, Mafe, I think did a little bit about your background, but I did want to ask you all, which platforms, why have you chosen social media and as your main platform to communicate with your customers? So let me start with, we'll just go left to right. Let's start with you, Marie.
Well, yeah, social media, I mean, it's just, the limits are endless. Like the sky is the limit. You can reach so many people at the same time. You can reach people, new people, anytime. You could be sleeping and still growing, you don't have to be present in real time. Yeah. And it's also, especially for platforms like YouTube, you can create evergreen content that will also make you money for a long time. I mean, you don't have to be present. So yeah, that's why social media is great. And I'm someone who really I wasn't into it.
Nice. And so you did mention, just to follow up on that, that you're on Instagram and YouTube. Are you on any other platforms for your business?
Yeah, Facebook. I just started on Pinterest. I saw that you highlighted that. And I also just started on TikTok. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Nice. Okay, cool. So then let's go to Mafe next. What platform, why are you online, and why do you choose to use it as your main platform?
Because it's free. That is critical with social media. For the most part, it's free. Let's say that. And then that's where everybody already congregates. Like, we're all on our phones on Instagram and stuff, and Facebook and all of that. And then also because it validates for me when I'm engaging with on social media to my customers and stuff like that, it validates the business for potential buyers. So like people that are just trying to get to know my business or what we do and stuff, when they see that I'm engaging with my customers, that in their head just kind of validates the business, and it pushes them forward on the next step of making a purchase. So that's why.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's great for customer service, right?
Right.
Like, and showing your ability to do customer service. Yeah, that's true. Okay, cool. And then Henrietta, same question for you.
Okay, so the question is why I'm on social media, why I'm
Yes.
promoting my business on social media, right? So
Yeah.
if I could take you a little bit back, I started my business, my first business about 5-6 years ago when I was still on campus, right? And I started this business with like literally nothing, like there's no money to do billboards, to do flyers, to do anything. And so for me, I thought that the easiest way to reach out to people was to use social media, which is like almost free. So up till like even before COVID, after COVID was when like people got really serious with social media, because now like we couldn't go out and all of that. Even before that, I had like 80% of my clients just from social media, because like I'd not met a lot of these people, and I was using Facebook a lot because for my business. And I like when you highlighted the statistic of over 51 people on Facebook are adults, right? And I'm dealing with my first business, especially, I'm dealing with decision makers, I'm dealing with resort owners, I'm dealing with people who actually run the business. And for me, Facebook was one of the places where you met like the CEOs, the MDs, like people like that. So it was a bit easier for me to use social media, especially Facebook, to reach out to this person and say, oh, I see that you are the owner of this and this and this. This is my business. How about you check it out? We can do a sample for you and what, and it was really working for me. So I didn't see any need to not continue to use it. So up till now, social media is where I get a lot of my clients, even though I love face-to-face marketing and I love going out to hand out samples and all of that. For me, social media has been like that big game changer for me regarding my business and marketing.
Nice. Yeah, and I'll just add that, this panel covers B2B and B2C, and you can see that this group all sees how important using social media is. I can't drive that point home enough, because I just had this conversation with someone the other day whose their business is working with other businesses and they didn't see a need for being on social media. So I'm so glad that you were able to mention that's where some of the people that you would be pitching to are. Okay, cool. So moving on to the next question. So in terms of using social media to get customers, right? How did you go from one customer or one follower to many? What steps did you take, and what mistakes did you make? I'm gonna work our way backwards now. So we'll start with you, Henrietta.
So which steps did I take? I love to, for example, if I have one person who did a business with me, I'm always gonna tell them that, do you mind if you talk about this job that I did for you? Do you mind if you spread the word on this that I did for you? And people were always willing to do that. Like, there's a mentor of mine who says that you never know what people are willing to do for you until you ask, right? So that's one of the things I do. Like, do you mind, like, especially if they are very happy with the service that I just give them, do you mind going online and talking about this? And I always found a way to compensate for that, right? So maybe I add a little bit more. Maybe you ordered for 100 bags, I could make it 110 or 20. Maybe you ordered for 1,000, I could add up a little more just to say thank you for, you know, recommending us online. So I ask a lot of recommendation. I also post our testimonials a lot. For people who don't know you online, it's very, sometimes it takes a little, you know, some word to break to get your trust, right? Because I don't know you anyway. How do I send money for me to make a purchase? And we are talking thousands of CDs. So you have to say that you have to be able to post testimonials so that people say that, oh, okay, if this person did business with you, why not? Like, why can't I do business with you? So one, I ask for referrals. Two, I post our testimonials a lot. I post a lot of the brands that we're working with, and we work with quite a number of top brands. So it's easy for somebody to see that if Hetty has worked for Woodin, why can't I trust her to work for me on this? So I try also to highlight that whether the big brands or the smaller brands that we're working with, I do my best to highlight that as well. So yeah, I would say those are the two things that I am like. Anytime I do that, I see like an overflow of more people even doing inquiries with me, wanting to make an order or something like that. And when it comes to the tour side of the business, I document a lot of my travels. That's why I have the YouTube channel, right? So for example, somebody comes to Ghana and takes a tour with me, I document the entire process and I put it online. So it's easier for other people to reach me in the DMs and say, oh, I saw your tour with that Australian guy. Is it okay? I'm coming to Ghana with my family. You know, can you do this tour also for me? And then we take it from there. So yeah, I would say those are some of the ways that have gotten me from a few customers to quite a number of them.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, and that's social validation, right? That's what social media can do for you, right? I think it's been mentioned by each one of you in some way, shape, or another, but testimonials and getting referrals, that's really social validation. And that's what people are looking for, right? They go to the first place that they know where they're spending 4 hours a day on to see if you're there, and they want to see what other people are saying about you. So all great points. Love that. Okay, so next, so that same question, just to reiterate the question, it was, how did you go from one customer or one follower to many? What steps did you take and what mistakes did you make? So I'm gonna ask now, Mafe, you next.
So for me at the beginning, for as far as like my first customers, same thing I was saying before, where like go where the people are, or go where I have a handmade product. So I started off on Etsy, where that's where they sell all, it's pretty much a shopping platform that's used for handmade goods. So I use that to gain customers at the beginning. And then I also spent a lot of time partnering with different influencers like YouTubers and things like that. I would send my hair to them. I would send my hair to different hairdressers in different cities and things like that, and just ask them to give me a review if they want to. It was usually just, oh, hey, here's some free hair, stuff like that. And then also once in a while, I would also do paid posts. So people that had larger platforms that promote other people, I would just inbox them and things like that and just say, hey, this is a post that I would love to have on your page. And then I would drive traffic back to my page, drive traffic back to my website. And once I had a large enough following so that I can analyze my audience and things like that, that's when I started to get into targeting with Facebook ads and stuff like that. But at the very, very beginning, it was sending my hair to different hairdressers and paid posts and things like that on larger platforms.
Nice. And you know, I forgot to ask this to Henrietta, so I'll get back to you, but let me ask you this, Mafe. What mistakes did you make?
Big mistake. Just because somebody has a lot of followers doesn't mean that's the right people for you. So I used to like, sometimes you'll have somebody that has like 100K or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, it costs such and such to post here. And I wouldn't do the research. I just saw, oh, they got a lot of followers. I wasn't checking their comments. I wasn't checking how people were engaging with them. And also because sometimes that wasn't even an audience that was interested in the product anyway. So that's one thing, that was a big mistake that I made. It was just always just paying attention, like, oh, they got a lot of likes, they got a lot of followers. No, that's not, no, do your research, just drill down a little bit more, read the comments, and even with the comments, I'm blabbing now, but like even with the comments, like you got to see how they're engaging too, because like some beauty influencers in my field, I guess, they sometimes it'll just be like, oh, you're cute, and then you'll have like the other, like some other influencers, they'll have comments where people are asking them questions about the things that they're promoting and stuff like that, and those are the people that I go after now. But before it was just kind of, oh, they just got a lot of followers, just give them some money, you know. So that was a big mistake.
Gotcha. Yeah, micro influencers, I think, is something that's on the rise, right? People with like 5 or 10,000 followers, but have much more engagement than somebody that might
Great
have
engagement. Yeah.
50 or 100,000. Yeah, awesome. Henrietta, we're coming back to you. What mistakes did you make on social? I forgot to ask you that. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, I think my biggest mistake was trying to work alone for too long. So you'd realize that now I do a lot of collaborations, I do a lot of partnerships, even just on the vlogger side of things. I try to reach out to other people, which I mean, you know, Stella Chanelli, right, who has like a great following. Now, with regard to travel blogging, she's like somebody I'm collaborating with a lot, because this is somebody who has the market or the audience that you're looking for. And why should you spend so much time trying to, you know, build everything from scratch when somebody has the audience you're looking for? Work with them, tap into their audience, they tap into yours, because I have my own strengths too when it comes to the business side of things, right? So you tap from each other. So I would say that if I could go back to correct something, I would definitely have started collaborating and partnering with people way much earlier. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Marie. So the question, just to reiterate, is how did you go from one customer or one follower to many? What steps did you take and what mistakes did you make?
Okay, in terms of growing, I would say, I think I actually saw the most growth that I had ever seen. Like when I first was like, okay, this is like a thing. I was just being consistent. Like the one time I decided that there was actually a consistency challenge going on with this girl, Maddie James. She's like one of the OG blogger girls, influencers. And so she was like having this consistency challenge in May, and it was right around the whole Floyd situation and Black Lives Matter thing. And I was like, oh, post every day. But that was really the turning point. So I would say consistency. That's where I saw the most growth. And I really felt like I was in it. Like I was doing the things that I didn't even know that I could do. Like it was a lot of work trying to think of things. But then again, if you plan ahead and you do your batch content creating and batch, like what you had with the calendar and everything, plan ahead and process it out, then you can take care of that. And then another mistake I did, because my customers are actually brands that I work with to promote their products. So like Mafe, what you were saying, like you were talking to me, girl, like giving money to people who you don't really know will convert into sales for you. But I used to really downplay that impact that content creators have on other people's businesses. So, and when you do that, you undercharge. You don't even charge as much as you're actually supposed to, because you don't really understand your value. So not understanding your value and your worth. And then, like Henrietta mentioned, kind of like being a one-man show, that is difficult. You have to ask for help. You have to outsource as much as you can, find feasible ways to get people to help you. Because I tell everybody this, my kids, my husband, people, I'm like, I'm only one person. I can't do everything. And I used to really try to do everything, edit videos, take the photos, edit the photos. Now I do what I love to do, the things that I feel like I can't trust people with, but I do have like a virtual assistant, a project manager, people to help me stay on track, a video editor. you know, because especially I have 2 kids, you can't do everything. You can't. It's really, it wouldn't even make sense. And then another thing that kind of goes with the consistency thing is I would have moments where I would just be so overwhelmed that I would just stop. And that is never a great resolution, because when you have momentum, you got to keep going. You can't take breaks, no days off. Even if it's just a little thing that you do, when those numbers start dropping, it's worse than, you know, whatever you think you're not doing well. Because usually you're doing fine, but it's like us over analyzing and thinking too hard. So even if you just show up, people just want to see like, hey, I'm here. You know, I'm here, I'm not dead. So just don't stop. Don't ever like tap out. Don't stop completely, because then it's like you're picking up the pieces and you're starting all over again. So those are some of the things. You had a lot of questions, so I don't remember all of them. It was like
No,
3
that was good.
questions.
That was good. I think you covered it all. You know,
Okay.
everything everyone said, I think resonated with me, and I'm sure it resonated with everyone on the like watching or the attendees, because I've been through all of it, and I feel all of you. So that was all really good stuff. Okay, so the next question, this is a good one. As African entrepreneurs, how are you using digital platforms to tap into new markets, whether that's on the continent, in other cities, or outside the continent, international? I think the last 2 questions I went backwards, so we'll start with you this time, Mafe.
Well, for me, of late, TikTok, I'll start with TikTok, has been, I don't know how their algorithms work, but now that I'm in Sierra Leone, when I post content, it pushes in front of like a Sierra Leone audience. So my business, the way I built it first has always been US based, targeting US customers, but now I want to dabble into even just marketing to on the continent, and then even other countries as well. So TikTok has helped with just however their algorithm works, and then also Facebook ads. You can select specific geographic locations. So when I want to just gauge interest in different countries, I'll just target that specific country first and see how my ad performs. So
That's really good. I know most of what we've been talking about is branding, not marketing. So I definitely want to come back to that and ask you some more follow-up questions on that, Mafe. But before I do want to run around, go around the round table and ask the others the same question. So as African entrepreneurs, how are you using the digital platforms to tap into new markets on the continent or international? So I'll throw this one over to you, Marie. Oh, you're on mute.
I would say I work with brands in America for the most part. But when it comes to like the content creation piece, I mean, you can market to anyone all over the world. You know, they have affiliate programs that you can tap into. I'm sorry if you hear knocking in the back, they're working on stuff. But you can do affiliate marketing. That is its own thing, where you're selling certain things or recommending certain things based on your experience. And then people can use a link to purchase that. And that could be from, you know, all over the world, and you get commission from that. So that's the only way I can think of. International, you know, there's an international mix as far as what I do, but outside of that, content creating, you can market to anybody, use whatever sounds from whatever countries that are trending right now to make TikToks, or do the latest and greatest, you know, what the kids do, child, I don't know. All the stuff, you just tap into everything, and now people are so connected. So I don't know if that answers that question quite well, but I'm not really selling, you know, so it's more so of working with brands in America.
Okay, cool. And Henrietta, I'll pass it on to you. I know you mentioned doing a tour with somebody. I don't know, it was a European country, I forgot, but I know you mentioned that. So obviously I'm guessing that you do marketing internationally. Can you talk about that?
Right. right? And two ways I'm trying to do this. One is by the kind of content that I create. So I want to appeal to Africans in Africa and in the diaspora, and I also want to appeal to people who are not Africans. So I have to be able to create the kind of content that can not only appeal to Africans, but can appeal to non-Africans, right? So whether in my presentation, in my music, using music, however I can, I have to try my best to appeal to a wider audience. So you see that I will try and use English, of course. I will try and do very quality, whether with my sound, with my videos, you know, things that will appeal to other people. And then the other way I would say is joining a lot of relevant groups. And I found that that's something really, really helpful to me. So for example, on Facebook, which is like the platform that I have joined quite like the most groups. So whether people who want to travel to Africa, because these are people that I'm interested in. So I've joined groups where there are people who want to travel to Africa, especially people who is their first time. And I'm more interested in those kind of people. So I'm on that kind of group. I'm sharing my content. I'm saying that if you want to come to Ghana, this is a great place. The Willie Falls is there. Afajato is here, you know, stuff like that. And I'm also, you know, engaging people and telling them that, because people have this misconception that Africa is not safe, Ghana is not safe, and, you know, you cannot walk the streets. Some people don't even like have an idea of how beautiful this place is. So I'm like that person who is like an ambassador on some of these platforms, saying that, oh, we do have a lovely continent, we do have a beautiful country, and you can do this and do that. So I would say that two ways I'm trying to do that. One is by joining relevant groups and spreading the word, marketing myself and my business. And then two, by the kind of content that I create, that it will appeal to both Africans and non-Africans. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that, I mean, you've hit on all the right points there. And so I think what we want to do is jump into some questions from the attendees. There are a number of different questions that came in, so I want to start going through some of those. So I know some people were dying to get their questions answered. So let's go through some of these. So the first one is, what if you don't have enough content to post? So I can jump in with a quick thought and then I'll run around the group. So I think, you know, when it comes to, it depends on the platform that you're on. On Instagram, you don't really get penalized for posting other people's content, right? As long as you give credit to the other people. Is probably not the best example, but I'll just use it. There was a guy named The Fat Jewish, like 6 years ago. He was a very big page. He had 1.3 million followers, got a TV show, has gotten all kinds of huge endorsements. He never posted anything that was original, ever. He was posting other people's memes the whole time on that page. Instagram never penalized him. Now he posts, because now his life is interesting, I guess. He posts original content now, but for 4 years or so, he was always posting other people's content. So when it comes to Instagram, you can do that. I do that frequently on the Authentic African Instagram page. Sometimes there are things that are really interesting that came from someone else, and so I repost that content. I think, but one thing that's also important is if you know who your target audience is, you really know who they are, then you won't run out of ideas to present to them, right? Because if you know how they think, you know what they do, then you'll be making content based on who they are. So if you ever run out of ideas, go back to who your target audience is. And if you have a really good understanding of who they are, you can't run out of ideas. You'll always be able to think about things that have to do with them. And then the last thing I'll mention is when it comes to business, as a business and you're posting online and dealing with other businesses, just become a thought leader in your industry. So that means if there are articles written by people who are other thought leaders, give commentary on those articles. There's always something happening in your industry that you can comment on, even if you don't have something original that you can provide for that moment. You can always read what's going on that's newsworthy and comment on it. So that would be my recommendation. I saw Marie nodding your head. Did you have some thoughts on people say they don't have any content?
Yeah, content is, I think that's actually one of the things I used to struggle with initially. And I think you're very correct with saying, if you know who your audience is, you kind of know what they want to see. And if you're doing it out of passion, this is something that's always on your heart, always in your head, like you're always thinking about it, it should really be kind of natural because you're always thinking about it. There's always an idea. There's so many ways to have content. You can do quotes. It doesn't always have to be pictures. You can talk about the latest events, like you said, Joe. You can create your own, you can even take a conversation that you have with somebody about this topic or this business that you're doing and take bits from that conversation, and that is content. You can record it and take bits from that, and that is content. Get someone else's opinion, and that is content, and be like, hey, what do you guys think about this? I was talking to somebody, they said this, what do you think? If it's clothing, you can have different people wear it. You can wear it different ways. You can have it in one setting and then say, oh, but you can also have it in this setting. You can wear it in the summer, or you could wear it in the winter. I think it's really hard to run out of content if you're doing something that, anything that comes to your mind can be content, basically. So whether it's a thought, you write it out, that's your content, type it. Whether it's a picture, even if you take a picture of the sky and put a quote on it, that's content,
Yeah, I love that, especially the part that you mentioned about being passionate about it, right? If you're passionate about what you do, you'll be thinking about it no matter what, right? It's not work to come up with ideas. So I love that. Henrietta, do you have any thoughts on that? If someone has a hard time coming up with content, what ideas do you have?
Right. Yeah. I want to say something quickly to the person. I think you should never think you never have anything to post, because I think that we usually get at that point where like we haven't planned ahead of time. So like you are that moment looking for something to post and you're like, your mind is blank and you don't have anything to. So one of the things I'm going to tell you to do is make good use of your phone. So I'm sure every smartphone has a notes part, right? So like if you watch my notes, I have like hundreds of posts. Like sometimes I could be maybe taking a shower, maybe just walking around, and a post just drops in my head, or maybe an idea. You just quickly put it there, and maybe you have a title like post or content for my business or for something. Just be writing it. Like at that moment, you don't have to post it, but you put it down. You can refine it later, and then you make it work. But quickly, I would say that, one, know your audience, like you said, and then two, ask yourself the purpose for which you are on that platform, right? Because as soon as you ask yourself that question, there's like there's no limit to what you can post. You can post stuff to educate your audience, to entertain your audience, to inspire your audience, to sell to your audience, to get them to take a certain action, and all of these things are post ideas, right? So don't ever think that you don't have anything to post. You always have something to make. And also understand that you can make a post in text, you can make a post in a video form, and you can make a post in a picture form. Just because you're not finding the right picture doesn't mean you shouldn't have anything to post, really. That's what I would say.
Nice, I love that. Yeah, that's huge. Taking notes. You spoke for me right there when you said in the shower. Sometimes you come up with ideas. I always have my phone right next to the shower, so I can either do a voice. I'm big on voice notes, so I send myself a voice note, or like I WhatsApp message on my other phone. Right, anytime I have an idea. So yeah, and to Marie's point, right? If you're passionate about it, then thoughts and ideas just come out of nowhere. So just make sure you're capturing them. Awesome. Okay, so Mafe, what are your thoughts on that?
You guys pretty much covered everything. The only thing I wanted to add was like sometimes you can recycle some posts. Don't recycle too much, but you can recycle some posts. Like something you posted, you can reuse a picture or a video. The caption can be something different, or you can do that once in a while. Don't do it too much, but that's also an option.
Nice.
I did want to add 2 more points. Is that okay? I just
absolutely go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I've struggled with this, I have realized that sometimes I don't make time to think. I don't schedule out time to think of creative things, like, and really dedicate my whole I need to set the vibe so I can think of like, okay, how am I feeling? What is actually going on? Okay, let me write all of this stuff down. Just like 30 minutes to an hour to write stuff down. You'd be surprised at how much you can come up with when you give yourself time and space and the right environment to really think and be creative. And then you don't always have to put content, doesn't always have to be about your business. People want to know you, the person behind the business. Some people will go anywhere you go. They will follow you and buy into anything you do just because they like you. So it doesn't always have to be about, the dress you're selling or the beads you're selling. No, just say, this is what I'm doing behind the scenes. People love behind the scenes. This is what I'm doing today. I woke up and I don't feel like doing anything. A lot of people wake up like that. So they will feel connected. They'll feel like they can relate. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, and you sell beads? Okay, let me go check out the beads now because I feel like you're a real person. So it doesn't always have to be about the thing that you're selling. Sometimes you can just show up as yourself, and that is selling actually your business.
Nice. Mafe, did you have something to add? Oh, okay. All right, cool. So there's another question about tools. And the question is, what's a good starter camera or mic for shooting YouTube? Very specific question.
Your phone.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say, like this is a conversation I've had with a ton of people before. I'm using this is a Samsung, was a Galaxy, whatever the 2019 version of the Samsung Galaxy was, whatever that is, that's what I'm using. You don't need to have, I don't even use mics. Now, if you have an extra phone and you're somewhere where it's loud, maybe you record audio on one phone and you do video on the other and then combine the two, but you don't actually have to. I know that means you have to have two phones. Not everybody has two phones, I get that, but you don't have to go out and buy a lot of expensive equipment. You can use your headphones too. You can use headphones to record audio. I mean, it doesn't, as long as your content is good and you're resonating with your audience, they don't care what you're shooting with. They care what you're shooting, right? And so I think it's important to just make sure that you just start the process. Once you start monetizing, then start investing, right? When you start making money, then you want to start investing more money in those tools. But I haven't bought a mic or cameras or anything since I've started. It's been over a year since I've been on YouTube. Henrietta, any thoughts? I'll throw it to you.
Definitely, I would say a phone. I've recorded over 150 videos, very good videos, just using my phone. And so I would not tell anybody like, wait till you have a camera. Most of the time, we are thinking that, should I get a camera first before I start? And that gets you like, in a whole year, you haven't started. So I would say use your phone and don't overthink it. I don't know about you, but how I was shooting like a year ago is not the same way I'm shooting now. So if you keep at it, you're definitely going to see a lot of progress. Just because, I mean, you're not so great doesn't mean you shouldn't start now. When you start now, with time, you'll be good at editing. You'll be good at, creating your thumbnails and everything. So just start, okay?
Yeah, I used to have a football coach that said, stop getting ready to get ready, right? That was his favorite thing to say. You get ready to get ready, nothing ever happens. And it's a year later, as you said, Henrietta, and you haven't shot any video. So just start. Anything to add to that, Mafe?
Yeah, just use your phone. Don't try to be too perfect. Don't try to be too perfect. So and people can see right through that when you are trying. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Cool. Anything else, Marie? Are you good?
Oh, I could talk about this forever. But I had that excuse also. I've had that excuse many times. And what I realize now is that it doesn't matter what you use, as long as people like you, as long as what you're providing is quality. It does not have, actually, perfection is a turnoff. And you won't ever realize these things until you actually enter the ring. Like, you can't be standing on the outside like, oh, let me see, calculating, taking all that energy to do all of that, and then you have produced nothing. So you really have to be in it. And I like to use, like, Cardi B is a great example, I think, like of just personality selling and personality thriving. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles, but if you're good and people like you and you grab people's attention, we're going to watch you even if you're using a flip phone. Like we just want some of what you're giving today, you know? But I do use, I got a G7X Mark II. It's a Sony camera for vlogging, Canon, sorry. It's a Canon for vlogging. That's what I use for vlogging. And then I have a Sony camera that I use for photos. But the craziest thing is that I'll do all these big productions for photos. And then when I put one picture with my phone of my daughter, then that's the one that goes crazy. I'm like, do y'all not know how much I put into that photo? So just do what, you know, people just want to feel like things are real. I think now in 2022, people don't want all of that perfect, this, that, and the third. I think it's more about connecting and being authentic, which is why TikTok is taking off the way it is, because TikTok does not really give you room to curate. It's kind of like, now use the sound. No, you can't save it. You got to do it now. It's like, well, wait, I'm not ready. I want to make it perfect. But people don't really want to see that. People want to connect with human beings. So you don't need all the bells and whistles. Just show up.
There it is. All right. So there was another question. This is actually a really good one. So the question, well, it was a statement and a question. I noticed that there was little mention of the importance of websites, and this being the digital office space at the center of all things social media. So I know that in my presentation, I just mentioned social media, but of course, it's important to also have a website, especially if you're selling something, right? Because you don't want to be reliant. So like you can sell stuff on Facebook and on Instagram now, but you don't want to be reliant on those platforms if they ever make a decision to change an algorithm or remove you from that shop. You want to have something that's owned and operated of your own. So you definitely want to have a website no matter what, because that's your own property. But yeah, I mean, can you guys, I know each of you have your own websites for your respective businesses. So let me start with you, Marie. Can you talk a little bit about what you use your website for and how you use social media in conjunction with your website?
Yes, I will talk to you guys about what I'm supposed to use my website for, because I'm not quite up to date. But yes, you should. So from, you know, the content creator industry, your website is supposed to be like your home, like the thing that you own, your domain, where people can connect to your various social media platforms from your website. So everything should pretty much be there. It should be housed there, so that should anything happen to the other social media platforms, like you said, you always kind of have like a backup house. You always have everything housed in this one place. So as far as content creation goes, that is okay. And then you can do whatever you want to do with it. There's no algorithm, there are no rules. Yes. And with the website, another very important thing is the newsletter and emails, but I don't know if we'll get to that today, but that is number one. Don't even get a website, get the emails. That is number one. Yeah. We can't hear you.
Yeah, that's good though.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's important to maybe dive into that a bit. So yeah, I know the question was specifically about websites, but can you talk a little bit about capturing prospects or potential consumer data and customer data and communicating with them? I think that's an important part of this discussion. So please dive into that.
Oh, yes. As again, I'm not on top of it, the email subscriptions and all that. But if you have a newsletter or something where you can, a newsletter, you reach out to your customers. If someone has gone through all the trouble of signing up, actually putting their email address into whatever landing page you have, then they're most likely really interested in whatever you're offering. So if they've gotten that far, now they want to hear from you. It's not like Instagram is putting it in front of them, or there's a platform out there where they kind of like, I don't know. No, they're signing up for it. It's like they're saying, I want it. I want it. So that's the type of customer you want. So you send out newsletters ever so often, bi-weekly, every month, depending on what you can handle. Again, you can't do everything. So you do it as often as you can, but it's like texting because the emails come to their phone or their personal device. And again, there's no algorithm or anything. So they're either going to open it up, or if they get tired, they'll unsubscribe. But as long as they're there, it's almost like they are really invested in your business, as opposed to a website. It's kind of outdated. And then again, a website is something that you have to go to. This is you just delivering to them like, hey, I got some new dresses. I'm just going to put it right here for you. When you get a chance, you check it out. You know, I'm nothing aggressive, but yeah, here it is. You're delivering directly to your customers. So that's always been talked about as the main platform. Like that's everyone's goal, is to have a really good flowing newsletter and email list.
Yes, and I'll just add to that before I ask everyone else about the website. So I'm a marketer. I work with a ton of brands, and I have over the years. And one thing that you can do now through these social media platforms is you can upload your customer list to the platform and utilize that to find other people who exhibit the same behaviors as your customers. So most people just boost a post and just try to get in front of a guest, right? I want to target these people in this region that are these ages. But once you already have customers, these platforms have created, and this is why they make so much money, they've created a system that allows you to be able to do better targeting than you can just guess on your own. So it's called lookalike modeling, right? So what they're doing is they're finding people who like the same post, who visit other websites, because you know a lot of people log in with Facebook across a bunch of different apps and websites, right? So people who exhibit similar behaviors recently and frequently, that has a 2 times more likelihood to become a customer of yours than by you just guessing their interest, right? So it's really important to keep your customer data and utilize that for targeting. Not only is it good for finding new customers, but it's good for getting people to repurchase from you. You can also target that same group again and get them to come back and buy from you. And although the social media platform won't show you exactly each individual person's account, it can still put your ads in front of them. So it's super important to be capturing your customer data. And you should be doing that on your website, right? You should have a place where people can sign up for your newsletter on your website. I just wanted to mention that because we should be talking about marketing, and I know most of what I spoke about was just branding. So just to give that piece of insight to all of you out there. Now on the topic of websites, Mafe, did you have something that you wanted to add on the topic of websites?
Yeah, I was gonna allude to funnel marketing. That's usually like the first step is gathering the emails, because like you were saying, if somebody's going out their way to sign up to know more about your business or whatever it is, that is like the first step. And that's usually after raising awareness, that's the first step. They opt in to your business, and literally Instagram could take your account away, all of that. And I've noticed, I use a system called Klaviyo, which shows me different percentages on how much revenue is actually coming from email marketing. So don't sleep on it. Email marketing it's also a digital option, but definitely utilize it, and definitely put that in your content strategy to make sure that you're collecting emails or driving customers to do that, potential customers to do that.
Absolutely. And by funnel marketing, what Mafe is talking about is like a sales funnel, right? So you have awareness. It's like, it looks like an actual funnel, right? Like, you know, when your funnel, I don't know, cake or something. What do you guys use funnels for?
Batter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the idea of a funnel, right? I only know about marketing. I don't know from the actual usage of a funnel.
You don't know about
like,
food. Okay.
I don't. I just eat it. That's it. But so you have the top of the funnel, right? Which is brand awareness, the awareness, right? So that's the largest amount of people that you'll get in touch with. And then it comes down to consideration and intent, right? They're considering. And then at the bottom, it's sales. So that the larger number is here, and it just like comes down into a funnel into a smaller number. And that is what Mafe just spoke about, right? That where they opt in or where they put their name or email to get more information from you is the top of the funnel, right? Where they're asking for more information from you. And that group is the group of people that you want to eventually convert to sales. Cool. Henrietta, did you have something to add in terms of websites?
No, in terms of website, I'm not the best example to say. My website just shows what we do, and it's also really important. Like especially if you're doing B2B, right? Because it's a great way to show that people can trust you. You're an authentic brand, and you know they can give their money to you. So I will not say that people should, you know, not look at it. Like, website is really, really important. It's not enough to be on IG and all that. It may be okay for somebody who wants to run their business on a very small level and not, you know, wanting to create like a global brand or anything. But I would say it's a really important part of the business that we can look at. I know I can definitely do better with that. When it comes to collecting emails though, anytime I have group trips, which I used to do quite often, I always have I always create a form, like it could be a Google form. That's always the easiest way. So even people who get to be on the trip or just have interest in wanting to be alerted anytime I have a trip, they sign up with their emails. So it gave me a very good, you know, it gave me a good form to just have a lot of emails of people who travel often. So this is one of the ways I'm also able to reach out to them. And it really helps to say that, oh, I have a trip coming up in June or May or something, and you get people who are responding. So yeah, it's quite an important part, right?
Nice. Yeah, and I think too, you know, there's a question about the algorithm here. And before we get into that, I think when you control your customer base or your prospective customer base, you never have to worry about changes to the algorithm, right? You control that communication, whereas each of these platforms make changes on a whim, and they call it intellectual property, so they won't tell you how their algorithms work, and they don't have to, right? They're trying to legislate it so that they do have to, but I don't think it's going to happen. So the best way that you can ensure that you're getting in front of your people is if you are communicating with them through the means that you have access to their information. And that's why it's super important to capture their email. So with that, there was a question for the group. How do you all stay on top of the challenges in the algorithms? So Henrietta, maybe I'll start with you since you answered the last one last.
The algorithm, well, it's very important that, because it changes often, right? Like we know that at one point, what do you call it? Real, this is the way to go about it. At another point, this strategy is not working and that one is working. It's always important to read about it. So for example, for me, YouTube always works for me. If I don't understand something, or I want to know what is the current trend, like what is working on TikTok or what's working on IG, they are always like leaders on this platform who are constantly putting information out. So that's one of these ways that I stay on top of it. Like, what's the better way to do a reel that can go viral? What do I have to do? So for me, it's like learn, because things are changing every single day or week. So just be on top of issues so that you know what's going on. And it's very important, like at every point there's something that is trending. And the truth is, some of us are not like great dancers, some of us are not, we cannot do great movements, but you can always tap into what is working at the moment. So maybe by using the music, by using information that will appeal to like a large audience, just tap into the things that are trending that you can use. Because for me, I feel like IG or TikTok favors a lot of people who are like, who dance a lot or move a lot or do a lot of movements. But once you're able to see that, okay, this song also applies, you don't necessarily have to be a great dancer before you can get your content out there. Just use the things that are trending, the things that you feel you can do, and tap into it, and you'll be able to move. Aside learning and being constantly on top of like what is driving the content at the moment. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'll just add that one thing that is really, that you'll never really be able to fully understand all the algorithms. But one thing that's really important for all of these companies is most of them, if not all of them, are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And the number one thing that they're always mentioning as one of their metrics is daily active users and monthly active users. And they're always working to try to get people to come back to those platforms. And how they do that is they reward people who their audience shares, likes, comments, right? Because that is showing that there is interest. So if you know when your audience is on, or you know what your audience likes, continue to do that, right? And that's how you can continue to beat the algorithms, because they're going to make changes all the time. But one thing that's never going to change is they will always reward people who have an audience that's engaged, right? So as long as you can keep your audience engaged, you don't have to worry about what other algorithm changes they're making. Let me also throw that to Mafe. What are your thoughts on how you beat the algorithm?
It can be a bit of a challenge. I like what Henrietta said, and I agree with that. It's just make sure you're like tapping into these experts, because they'll keep you on top of recommending what you should be posting or what you could potentially be posting. Because like reels are pretty much where we're at right now. That's where you get a great organic reach. For me, it's very hard to like even just navigate it. It's just keep posting consistently. That's what I have been doing to navigate it, and also just hopping on trends once in a while, not all the time, but just hopping on the trends as well. You on mute.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's I mean, that's it. I think consistency is the only way you can, right? I mean, you can't always know. But I also like that Henrietta mentioned, you're right, YouTube, people always do content on what's working and what's not working. So if you have a question, you know, that's what YouTube is there for. Google bought YouTube because Google is where you ask questions in word form. YouTube is where you ask questions for answers in video form. And so if you have a question, that's the place to answer it. So that's you. If you need any answers, that's where you go to ask that question. So I'll ask you too, Marie, any thoughts on how do you try to beat the algorithm?
Yes, I would. Well, I kind of have two parts to this. First, I would say do whatever they're telling you to do, basically. If reels are working right now, do the reels. If IGTV, you know, that used to be the thing, do that. They're saying engage with people in your niche or in your, you know, engage with your customer base, do that. But then on the other end of that, I would also say, before you think about growing, because the only reason you would want to do that is to grow, like reach more people. But I think you should really make sure that you're satisfying the needs of your current audience base. Like, why do you want to grow if even the current people you have, they're not even well fed? So I think you should satisfy the audience that you already have. Like, think about making sure that they're sticking around, because once they are really bought into whatever you have going on, shares on Instagram is a big deal. Once people start sharing your stuff, that I think the algorithm actually likes that. Sharing and saving, and people usually share and save when something is of quality. So if you're creating stuff that's of quality, people are going to share it. People are going to save it for next time. And sometimes you even have to tell the people what to do. Like, okay, guys, save this, please, because I know you're going to just look at it and keep going. No, save it so that in the future, when you have these questions for me, I don't have to answer again. Just save this. Sometimes you can just speak directly to your audience and tell them what to do. Just like in businesses outside of, well, yeah, that's social, that's kind of media too. Like when you have testimonials online, that everybody goes on Amazon and looks at the testimonials. Like word of mouth is a big deal. So again, if it's of quality, people are gonna share it, and that's like word of mouth, because I'm gonna share stuff with people who I think will like it, you know. So if I found something valuable, I'm going to share it with someone else who might think it's valuable. Then that person can become a customer, a follower, whatever you're trying to gain out of that situation. So I would say, yeah, loyalty is more important than try to beat the algorithm and grow. Like make sure you're satisfying the people that you already have, because quality is better than quantity. There's this book called 1,000 True Fans. Is it a book or is it just a saying? I think it's a book. 1,000 True Fans. All you really need is a few people. We be out here trying to get all the followers, but you just need a few to really buy into your idea, your brand, whatever you have going on. And those people will stay loyal, and then they'll share with other people. And you know, you never know. These people will connect you because they know that you're really serious about your craft and what you're doing. And you don't even need to do all these jumps and turns and twists. Just, you know, just be yourself. I also don't think with this whole algorithm thing, I don't think you should go out of your way to really try to, because you'll spend all this time that you could have been spending with your family trying to do all the splits and all the popping and locking that the kids are doing, when you could have just been like, shown up as yourself, and that would have been just enough for the audience that you have. And then don't ever stop. Like I said, don't ever stop creating, because people, once they find you and they like you, they'll backtrack. So it's really never a waste. They'll be like, oh, what are some other things that she's created or she's done or she's posted, or that they provide, you know, they'll go back. So nothing is really a waste, as far as, you know, the algorithm and all of that goes. Don't beat it, just flow.
Love it. There was a lot of good stuff there. One of the things that you said, I think really resonated, was tell your audience what to do. I think people make a lot of assumptions that they're going to like, comment, subscribe. You guys watch videos, right? And you notice that after every video, people say like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends. There's a reason for that, because when it comes to online marketing, and this is something I learned in my first course ever that I paid for online back in 2009. That was the first thing that they said is, don't assume they're going to do the thing you want them to do. Tell them to do it. Mm-hmm. And you notice that every big channel, no matter how big they are, even if it's a company that has a big presence like on TV, like ESPN, when they do those little clips from First Take or one of those shows, or I'm trying to think of something else, Good Morning America, probably. Yeah. If it's like one of those things, they always say at the end of the, like Robin Roberts will say, click here to subscribe, click here if you want to watch the next video, right? You have to tell people what to do. So I do want to drive that point home, because I think a lot of people forget that when they're putting content online. You definitely want to tell people to subscribe and to follow. All good stuff. I'm going to stick with you, Marie, because there were a couple questions specific to you. It was kind of an open-ended question, but the question was, do you partner with fashion brands?
Yes. And I did want to renege on what I said about the international piece, because content creators can partner with, you know, international hotels, airlines, fashion brands who want photos. Content creators can partner with anybody for photos, for experiences, just for a write-up, like a blog post. So that is a way that content creators can do that. But yes, fashion brands. Yeah.
Cool. And then one more for you. How do you have time to do the social content, social media, and work at the same time? Then they also mentioned very commendable.
Oh, don't commend me, please, because I was going crazy. Crazy. So I am, as a physical therapist, I'm sure that's like my career, you know, as a physical therapist. I was working as, and still working as, a contract therapist. So I've always been in control of my scheduling, and I've always had it very flexible, because I knew that, you know, I was really passionate about this other thing, that once that starts taking off, I'm out of here. So I always kind of left it open like that. Like I've never been able to like work in one facility with the 4 walls and just go and see the same people every day. No. So I was doing home health as a physical therapist, and I actually haven't seen a patient since December, because I'm taking a little break off from doing that to focus on, really it's the kids, y'all, the kids, the kids and the man. Like I'm just trying to be there for everybody, you know, so, and myself, number one. So I've taken the content creation business has afforded me, praise God, a little bit of room to take off from the physical therapy at the moment, so that I can focus on me, I think. I think I'm focusing on myself. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think it's important. You have to take care of yourself. You have to. I made the mistake of trying to be all things to everyone over the last year, and you probably can't see them right now, but I grew a bunch of gray hairs, driving myself crazy, trying to, you know, work a full-time job, have a YouTube channel, have an e-commerce store, do some consulting, building a house, and I don't even have any kids, but even all of that to me was just too much. And I think what I decided was it's okay to reduce your output for your sanity. So,
Yeah.
for me, I made the conscious decision in December that I was going to reduce the amount of YouTube videos. I was still going to make sure I was posting at least once a week on YouTube, but I was doing 3 per week prior to that. And I haven't really seen that much of a decline, honestly, in audience, but I've also seen a much better like health. I wake up and I'm not like tired every day. So I think it's super important. As you said, take time for yourself. Do for yourself. It's important. It's super important. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? Mafe, do you have any thoughts on how do you keep all the things going at the same time?
When you guys are talking about virtual assistants and social media managers, I wrote that down like, you need to find one right now, because I'm literally the one creating all the content. I'm talking to my customers. I'm dealing with putting out those fires, and it can be a lot. So, yeah. So how am I managing it? I'm doing my best, my absolute best, but I definitely know that it is time, since things are ramping up, to get a virtual assistant or something just to offset some of that work.
And what about you, Henrietta? How do you juggle it across everything?
Okay, so I'm going to share quickly something again that I learned from one of my mentors, and she said, 1, ask for help, 2, pay for help, and then 3, pray for help. So ask for help because like we can't do everything. And if it's with kids, like ask for help. If it's with business, ask for help. If it's something like you need to get it done, recommendation, testimonial, something, let's be able to ask for help. And then pay for help, because sometimes like you can't just ask for help. You may have to pay for a master class, right? Sometimes you can't ask for a certain help because you have to pay for a certain course. You have to pay for a virtual assistant. You have to pay for somebody to, handle a certain part of your business. So pay for help. And then there are some things truly you can only pray to God and hope that, you go through, because it's a little beyond you. So for me, these are some of the things that has been helping me. With my first business, I have a team of 5 that helps with work. And sometimes when we need more hands, we pay to have more hands. But even with that, like work can get a little bit overwhelming. So imagine if I just wanted to work alone, it wasn't going to be possible. So these are some of the things I've had to learn along the way, that I can't do everything. I have to ask for help. I have to pay for help. And then I have to pray for help. So this is what has been working for me so far somehow.
Awesome. I love that. Ask, pay, pray. Is that what I got? Ask, pay, pray. I like it. Okay, so all dovetailing on that particular question, one of the attendees said, I need more discipline in that and finding the time to post more often. So what advice do you give for someone who needs to find the discipline to be posting consistently? Because I think all 3 of you mentioned consistency, right? So I'm going to start with you, Mafe. What are your thoughts on that?
Then, try your best to plan your post ahead of time, so that you're not overwhelmed. That's solid advice that I got from somebody, and it has helped me because of what we were talking about earlier, when you get that fog where you don't really know what to post. So that'll be some sound advice that I want to share with everyone else. Make sure you're just planning it out beforehand. As far as getting the discipline, you really just have to find it within yourself to motivate yourself to get it done. But it does help to like pre-plan.
Nice. Maria, I saw you nodding your head. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with Mafe. Planning ahead is a huge deal, but then also you have to make sure you are kind of like putting yourself in the midst of people who are on the same track, because you can have virtual mentors or people who are your mentors and they don't even know they're your mentors. You see them get up at 5 a.m. to work out. You get up at 5 a.m. because you're like, okay, I know this person is up and they are ready to get the day going, even though I don't feel like it. I'm just going to try to, use that as motivation. So I would say follow people and connect with people who are ahead of you a little bit, so that you don't so that you have motivation, you know,
Mhm.
because it's very hard out here. So discipline is a huge deal. And then, you know, I listen to like YouTube, you know, like motivational speaking, and I read books on, like I just finished the Will Smith book. That was a great book on Audible. It was, oh my God, the best. Just little things like successful people, seeing how they became successful, things like that. So that's
Mhm.
another thing that can kind of keep you encouraged and motivated.
That's huge. Yeah, I had a mentor that used to always say success leaves clues, right? Like
Mhm,
people who've reached the heights that you want to reach, I love to tell you in
mhm,
books, in posts, wherever, it's
mhm.
available information. So that is really helpful to get you out of bed and to get going. And you'll find that people who've achieved what you want to achieve has had to do the things that you don't really feel like doing. And
Yeah,
so if
exactly.
you're following them, is you have to do now what others won't, so you can have later what others
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
right? And if you want to get there, you're gonna have to do what other people have done to get there. Nothing worth having comes easy.
yeah.
So with that, I know Henrietta, did you have any other thoughts on, um, you know, if you just don't, if someone doesn't feel like posting or doesn't have the discipline, what thoughts do you have to help them?
Yeah, it's just around something that Mary said. I think it was her who said it's just along that line. And for me, it always works. It's just being in an environment of doers, right? Because like no matter who you are, there are just some days you just don't have the discipline. So whether it's an online community or offline, it really helps if you are in a certain community where they're just they're showing progress, and they're doing the things you feel like you don't want to do. And there's a way that can get you to get up and do something. I don't remember which of you ladies said you joined a challenge where you had to post a day. Like you didn't think you could post, once each day, but you did it. You did it because you were part of that community that were doing it. So you're like, what is your excuse? And that can be really helpful. So that environment can rob that kind of, discipline of you, and you're able to go. If you can also get somebody in your industry that can be, like an accountability partner, that is so helpful. So for me, depending on a certain kind of project that I may be working on, I could have an accountability partner who is making sure that you said you were going to do this. Have you done this? Okay, I check in with the person this week. Have you done this? Have you done that? And that can also get you to, wanting to do what you said, like holding yourself by your word. So you get to do what you said you wanted to do. And then finally, I would say that I go to watch a lot of videos of people who are doing stuff like she said. So for example, with my YouTube channel, I'm like, okay, when I feel like I don't feel like editing, okay, go to Wadamaya, go to Nas Daily. I watch some videos of them, and Nas is saying, listen, I recorded over 300 videos before anybody could, see that I'm even doing something. I'm like, what, Hetty, have you recorded 300 videos? So what's your excuse? Then somehow I'm like, like, just get up and do something, and so like I asked myself, do you really want 1 million subscribers? Then you better get up and do it. So these are some of the things I do to get myself to get up when I don't feel like getting up.
All good points. And I'll just add to that by saying the accountability or workout partner is super important. I mean, I found myself in college being a procrastinator. I waited to the last minute, or I just didn't do it. And so a friend of mine and I decided we'd be accountability partners. And to this day, over 15 years later, we are still accountability partners for each other. And she's also a content creator. So whenever I feel like I'm not feeling like it this week, I'm reminded on Thursday at 6 p.m. Today we skipped it, obviously. Thursday at 6 p.m., I need to be prepared to discuss why I didn't do what I said I was going to do last Thursday at 6 p.m. So it's really, really helpful to have an accountability partner. And then the other mention of the mentor is super important. Your mentor doesn't always have to be somebody who knows you. Like, I think it was kind of said without saying it, but like, Henrietta mentioned that sometimes she goes to Wodemaya's channel, right? Like, Wodemaya doesn't know me. I met him once. He does not know me. And I definitely look to him for inspiration. He's a mentor of mine, but he doesn't even know it, right? Didi was a mentor of mine at one time, right? Like, you can find people who are doing what it is that you want to do. And if they have the success that you want, like I said, success leaves clues. So your mentors don't have to be known. but they can be known as well. And so don't be afraid. If you're doing the work, people will be more than happy to mentor you and give you advice. So with that, ladies,
Can
this
I
has
add
been,
one more? Can I add one
yes,
more?
please.
I think
add.
deeper than all of that too is like you always have to be reminded of your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you even get into this thing? Because that is really what's going to make you snap out of it. Like, okay, this is, and you might have to write it down. You might have to have a photo or something that just reminds you every day of why you're trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And because all these tedious tasks are very annoying a lot of times. Like we don't want to do it, but we know we have to if we want to get to the original, destination. So keeping your why in mind is really important.
Awesome. Yes. So we're going to wrap it up with one last question. We are rounding out the second hour here. So there was a question about recommending an application you use to create video content. And I guess maybe we'll say create and or edit, since I think if you use it to do that, you probably use it to edit too. Any thoughts from any of you? I need to call out individuals. Let's start with you, Marie. Do you have any thoughts on any apps or applications that you use?
Okay, so I use, let's say I took a photo, I would edit, if I edit the photo, I would use Lightroom and sometimes Facetune. And for videos, if I record something, I will use iMovie. I use iMovie to edit, but now I have editors, so I don't typically edit. But there's also this app called Pick, Play, Post or so for iPhones. That's a really quick like edit for like Instagram Reels or Instagram videos. I use Planoly. Well, I have a Planoly account to plan posts. I don't really use it, but Planoly is great. Google Drive and all of that is really amazing. PayPal, of course, I know y'all got PayPal. We need to get paid. But yeah, those are the resources that I currently use the most, I would say.
Okay, cool. Henrietta, I'll go to you next. Any apps that you use for shooting content or even editing?
Okay, so for me, photos it's Lightroom. That's my number one that I use. For video, I use InShot. And InShot, what I love about InShot is that it's super easy. Like if you don't know how to edit and you're just starting out, it's super easy to use InShot. So it works well for me. I used to use Evernote, to plan out my content and everything, and also worked well as a diary and all that. But now I don't use it anymore. But it's also a very, very good. I think I have it. I just haven't, because of my notes on the phone, I haven't used it quite yet. But it really did serve me well. But these are like the top ones that I use. I'm trying to what do you call it? Remember one that I use for so I use PixArt to create my thumbnails. I use PixArt. That's what I use to create my thumbnails. So I'll say these are my top three, really. Yeah. Lightroom, InShot, PixArt.
Okay. Was that Lightroom?
Lightroom, yeah, to edit photos, Lightroom, like lights and then room, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And lastly, Mafe, tools you use to shoot.
So for me, I also use Facetune and PixArt. So those are good for pictures. As far as videos, primarily I've been using KindMaster when I want to put like certain songs that I can't find. What's another one? For like quotes and things like that, I use something called CC Express. It used to be called Adobe Create, I believe, but they have a lot of cool templates that you can use. And of course, Canva. That's another one for like different quotes and stuff like that.
Okay, great. So first of all, I want to thank you all for the attendees for joining and the panelists for doing such a great job. This was a very enlightening discussion, and I think you guys really brought a lot to this conversation. Before we go, I'd love for you all to give your social media so everybody knows where to follow you. We'll start with Marie this time. Marie, what are your social channels and where can people find you online?
On Instagram, I'm RIE, like the end of my first name, Marie. So RIE_defined. And then on YouTube, I'm redefined with a space. But if you should be able to get to everywhere from Instagram. So just go to Instagram and then link in the bio will take you everywhere else.
Okay, cool. Mafe, what are your social channels?
FemAfric, so FEMAFRIC, that's across all platforms. That's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's YouTube. There's a little bit of Pinterest there. I just plug everywhere. So type in FemAfric in Google, you're gonna see all of the different social media pages that I have.
All right, and Henrietta, your social channels. Oh, I think you're muted.
Okay, is it fine? Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so I just put it in the chat just to make it easy for reference. So on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, I'm Henrietta Jete, so you can find me everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok is Henrietta Jete everywhere.
Okay, nice. And for those who are interested, also follow the Launchpad Africa pages on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. It's just at Launchpad Africa. And then if you want to follow any of my channels, it's at Authentic African. Authentic_African on Instagram and Authentic African everywhere else. All right, so with that, thank you all for joining. I want to thank the panelists again. This was awesome. For those of you who are listening, as was mentioned in the chat, we do plan to do this once a quarter. Now that you've signed up through Eventbrite, you'll be notified anytime we do this. They will be on different topics. But if you have any requests for different topics, we would be more than happy to review them and work out potential other discussions such as this. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks again to the panelists. And we will see you all on the next webinar. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, guys. All right.